Man delights not me, no, nor woman neither. And today we are going to talk about the woman that delights me the least right now. Hello everyone, my name is John, I'm the Geeky Fanboy, and today I'm here to be angry. This is going to be an unscripted, angry rant because I just need to get my thoughts out on this. So, just kidding, Rowling in turfiness decided to do a tweet yet again. And already that sentence implies, oh no. And this time, instead of going on her usual awful turfy rant, Rowling decided, for no apparent reason, to attack the asexual community. So, this happened not too long ago on April 6th, which is International Asexuality Day, in case you didn't know. And JK was like, a day dedicated to a queer minority? Let's do a hate tweet. So this is what she said. Happy International Fake Oppression Day to everyone who wants complete strangers to know they don't fancy a shag. Okay. Let's just be angry for a minute at the most awful author in the world right now. This was, first off, what even prompted this? JK, can't you just shut your fucking mouth? This is all you needed. This is all the world ever wanted from you, JK. Finish Harry Potter, then go buy a nice house somewhere, and then shut your mouth. This is what you should have done. But instead, you decided to shit on trans people, especially trans women, and now you decided to also shit on ace people. So, why? Like, what's your deal, lady? Like, okay, so let's talk about it. She calls this Fake Oppression Day. Fake Oppression Day. This is a very common issue acephobic people, also within the LGBTQ plus community, have with ace people. This is a thing people like to bring up, that it's like, oh, how do you get oppressed? Asexuals aren't discriminated against. Not like gay people or like trans people, something like that. And, of course, the harm that occurs to gay people or trans people, like even those two things are not exactly the same. So of course this can't also be compared to the suffering some ace people go through. But to just blatantly say that there's no oppression, that there's no discrimination or threat or whatever against ace people is a very harmful misconception, because it does very much happen. The most obvious thing, and I'm sorry I have to use that word here, rape threats. Yeah, because guess what ace people, when they explain that they're ace, often get to hear from, most of the time, really awful, disgusting cis men, just wait until you have sex with me, or I can fix that, or also very threateningly just be like, I'm gonna rape you so you change your mind. This is what happens to ace people. Some ace people are literally threatened with correctional rape. This happens to especially ace women, that men will say the most awful things to them because they're ace and be like, oh, I can fix that if I force sex on you. Sex those women definitely do not want in general, but especially also not with those men. Like this, the existence of this alone, of correctional rape, should already be enough to completely destroy this argument that aces don't experience oppression. Fuck you. And I can guarantee you that every ace person, or almost every ace person in existence, has heard something along those lines. It might not be like an outright, correctional rape threat or something, but I can guarantee you that probably every ace person out there who's ever explained to an allosexual person, so someone who does experience sexual attraction, if we've ever explained ourselves to someone, that this person will say something along the lines of, oh, maybe you just haven't met the right person yet. This is like on the ace bingo card, my friends. I can guarantee you that this has happened to me so many times in the now 12 years that I've identified as asexual. Every time I explain this to someone, they're like, oh, maybe you just haven't met the right person yet. This is not how this works. Would you say to a gay man, would you be like, oh, well, maybe you haven't met the right woman yet? Would you say to a straight guy, oh, maybe you haven't met the right man yet, maybe you are gay? Would you ever say that to any of those people? No. So why the fucking hell would you think this is okay to say to ace people? And yes, oppression does occur. It's also within the LGBTQ plus community. Aces are so often disregarded and excluded within queer spaces because we are not considered queer enough. Also because, same argument, because we don't experience oppression. We're not oppressed enough, so we can't be part of this minority community that experiences oppression, because aces do not experience that kind of oppression. So aces aren't queer enough. Like, just because you don't wanna have sex or don't experience sexual attraction, that doesn't make you queer. This still happens within the LGBTQ plus community, a community where we should all come together because we all know what it feels like to be excluded because of who we are. And ace people are very familiar with this feeling. And it's sad that this even happens in a community where we should feel welcome. This is not the oppression Olympics. This is not about who suffers more. This is about that we come together, that we share our understanding of our different life paths, that we share our experiences and strengthen each other in our existence and who we want to be. So why the hell would you say, oh, you don't experience the oppression the same way I do, therefore you are not a proper minority, therefore you don't belong into this community? It's ridiculous and it's wrong. Like, correctional rape is a thing, and there are so many harmful stereotypes that exist around ace people. So for example, there are because I've read this about in the book recently, and I'm going to talk about 2 books later that I really want to recommend on this issue. For example, black people, or especially black women who are ace, often experience discrimination because they are black and ace, because there is this racist stereotype that black people or that Southern Americans, that they are supposed to be very passionate people, that they're supposed to have a lot of sex, because that's the racist stereotype. And then when they meet a person of color who is ace, that goes completely against those bigots' worldview, and they can't believe those people exist. And then acephobia happens, and then racism happens, and all that awful shit. All this stuff happens. Like, I've read about experiences in books where disabled people who are ace felt very conflicted about their identity, because there is already this harmful stereotype that disabled people can't experience love or sexual attraction because they are physically disabled. But there are disabled ace people, and they shouldn't feel weird about that. They shouldn't feel like they have to hide because of those harmful stereotypes surrounding disabled and ace people. There is stuff like that happens, and there are people who are afraid of saying that they're ace because we live in a society that is very, very heavily geared towards allosexual people. That's just the case. Sex and sexual attraction are everywhere, on screen, in our books, social media, ads, everything. has to do with sex to a certain degree in so many ways, shapes, or forms. And I cannot tell you how difficult it sometimes is to explain to people that you're just not a part of this or don't enjoy this general atmosphere that just exists within our society. That, you know, especially if you're sex repulsed, sex is something that doesn't excite you at all. It repulses you, and yet you have to be in this society where sex is very prevalent. And try to explain this to people, that sex makes you uncomfortable, or that you share this just general idea of sex just doesn't excite me. And there are so many people out there who just can't wrap their head around this idea, and then continue to ask very invasive and inappropriate questions. They will never just accept that this is the case for us. And I guarantee you that every ace person, should you know someone in life who's ace, or should you ever meet an ace person, I can guarantee you that we have had this kinds of conversations, that we've had those conversations where we talk to people and they will not accept that when we're like, oh, we're ace, I'm ace, I'm not really interested in sex, I don't experience sexual attraction. And people will be like, what? No, but sex is like the most amazing thing in the world, and are you broken? When it gets to this shit, it hurts. There's so many harmful stereotypes about ace people out there that are about, you know, how ace people are broken because we don't experience love, that we can't fall in love, that we don't love anyone, that we don't have relationships. It's such a harmful stereotype, and one we've seen depicted in across like media everywhere, in movies, TV shows, books. It has happened. You know, the psychopath serial killer who can never fall in love with anyone, and it's very aggressively coded to be sort of asexual, even though they don't use the word asexual. But you know, those kinds of things get conflated, and of course people completely ignore the fact that there's a difference between being asexual and being aromantic. Experiencing no sexual attraction is not the same as experiencing no romantic attraction. Those are two very different things, and often they get thrown together, and then it's tiring. Every ace person, to some degree, obviously I'm generalizing it, will probably be like this, that this is tiring to explain to people at a certain point. It just gets tiring, and I'm tired of people being like, you don't get oppressed, you're not interested in sex, well, why do you have to tell everybody? And J.K. Rowling being like, oh, because they want complete strangers to know that they don't fancy a shag. It's not about that. Being ace has nothing to do with my physical ability to have sex with another person. Asexuality just means I'm not sexually attracted to another person and have close to no interest in having sex with someone. But that doesn't mean that I'm physically, emotionally incapable of having sex. There are many ace people who have sex. There are many ace people who don't have sex. All of those things happen for various reasons, all of which you honestly don't need to know about unless you have a very close relationship or friendship with an ace person and you ask questions politely. Unless that's the case, this is not your business, whether or not ace people have sex. And if they do have sex, if I hear you be like, but I thought you were asexual, you can't have sex with people. No, shut your mouth. This is not what this is about. And honestly, I have no idea why JK has to be like this. And by the way, this wasn't like the only thing she was going on about in Twitter. Like this conversation continued in her replies, in her comments, where people were being like, aces are queer, give me strength. You know, this argument, aces aren't queer enough, so they can't be in the queer community. And then J.K. Rowling, of course, was mockingly being like, well, at this point, it's quicker to list who isn't under the queer umbrella than who is. No, you know what? It's easy. If you are cisgender and heterosexual, both at the same time, and both of these definitions apply to you 100%, you're not queer. You might be an ally, which you should be, but you're not queer. If you're 100% straight and 100% cis, and those terms 100% apply to you at all times, not queer. Like, that's it. It's not that hard, JK. And then one person was being like, well, actually, you can be gay, straight, or bi while also being ace. Good point, because, romantic attraction is different to sexual attraction. But J.K. Rowling doesn't get that. So she was like, how are you supposed to tell which you are if you don't experience sexual attraction? Ever heard of the split attraction model? Like, I thought you cared so much about, feminism and the rights of women and what they go through and, lesbians and all that. Never heard of the split attraction model? Of course you haven't. Because then you would know, like I've now said multiple times, there is a difference. Who I'm attracted to physically and sexually can, and for many ace people, is different to who they are attracted to romantically, who they are attracted to platonically, or aesthetically, or whatever. For example, I am an asexual, demi and panromantic guy. So I'm asexual. I do not experience sexual attraction to anyone. Full stop, period. No sexual attraction to anyone. I have a girlfriend, however, because I do experience a certain degree of romantic attraction. I'm demi and panromantic, meaning I am potentially, romantically, can develop an interest in anyone regardless of their identity. That's the pan part. The demi-romantic part is that I only really do experience romantic attraction with someone I have developed a very close bond with. That's it. So I'm an ace guy, and I'm in a relationship. A romantic relationship. And yes, there is also, physical attraction stuff sometimes happening within this relationship. But how we deal with that, what happens there, how we talk about what we do, what we don't do, what we like and what we don't like, is personal. Just as it is to every single relationship on the planet. This is none of your business. So, what the hell, JK? What's your deal? And of course they had to go on in the comments. So someone was like, oh, everything has its own day now. What will be next? I don't know. I mean, there's International Biscuit Day, there's International Toilet Day, or what the ever the hell day. There's a day for everything. So is it really that bad that every letter in the LGBTQ plus thing has a day? Is that so terrible for you to know? And of course JK had to double down and was like, oh, I want an international board of this shit day. You know what we're bored of, JK? We, as the LGBTQ plus community, we're so tired of your queer-phobic bullshit. You should have just finished your stupid Magic Wizard book series, then fucked off somewhere to the countryside and shut your mouth. This is what you could have done. And everyone would have still enjoyed your books, would have still admired you as a person. But no, you had to go and decide to be a massive transphobic, acephobic, in general queerphobic and other horrible coded kind of bigot who uses her money to actively celebrate anti-trans and anti-queer causes. Because this is what she does. This is what happens if you give this woman money. If you buy new Harry Potter stuff, if you buy new Harry Potter merch, if you buy a stupid Robert Galbraith thriller crime books that are horrible, You give this woman money, which she will then use to donate to groups or communities of people that actively work against making the lives of trans people and other queer people hell. This is what she has decided to do and to use her fame and money for. She has dedicated herself to just hating people for being who they are. And trans people told you back then, when this became clear to the world, that this is not where it stops. It starts with that she wants to be like, oh, I want to protect women's rights. I want to protect women in the bathroom and all that. And then she goes against trans women. This is not where it stops. Now she goes against ace people. This is probably also not where that will stop. Many people have spoken about that her books and her actions are harmful in also many, many other ways. And it's important that we don't let people like that get away with it, because yes, she is still a very influential person, has influenced the life of many people, especially people my age. That's why it's important that we point this shit out, that it's not okay, and that we can't keep supporting people like this. Yes, I grew up with the Harry Potter books as well. Yes, I love the books when I read them. I love the movies. And yes, I have to admit that I still haven't gotten myself to throwing all of my old books out. They're hidden behind me on a bookshelf. They're hidden behind a picture because I can't bring myself to throw them away yet, but I also just really don't want to look at them. And what we do is we don't give her any money. It's okay if you bought those books like 20 years ago and still have them, but be aware of who this person is now. Don't buy her new books. Don't support her financially in any way. This is just where it stops. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, you can't ever touch a Harry Potter book again, or you don't ever read this book again. I mean, sure, go and read the book. If you bought it like 20 years ago, you still have it and it's on your bookshelf, you can read it. Sure, you can. But be aware of the context those books now have. Be aware of the context of the author. That you are aware of who this person is now who wrote those books back then. And that you are aware of how and who you're engaging with now. Because this is not the same situation that it was 20 years ago when those books came out. It's just not the same. And I'm just tired. I just don't understand how. I mean, probably there's a pipeline you can follow to understand how she got there. But it's so weird. And I talked about this way back when, her transphobia became so obvious no one was able to ignore that. I did a video where I read her entire stupid blog post essay and talked about my feelings there. And it just feels so weird that this woman who, how long ago? 16 years ago, inspired me to become a writer. A woman whose work has inspired me to do creative work myself. A woman who I watched a documentary about and I felt so inspired by, because I was like, oh, this is so cool what this woman has done, and I want to be able to do the same thing with writing stories myself. It feels so hurtful and weird to now have this woman actively go against me as a very human being on every level, and people I know, people I care about, this very community that I'm a part of, the LGBTQ plus community, against trans people, against ace people. Just, it hurts and feels weird to know that someone like me is probably this woman's worst enemy now. And honestly, I think if J.K. Rowling ever were to find out that trans women who are ace exist, I think this woman would spontaneously combust. But yeah, it's just weird. And it's just sad. Honestly, it's just sad to see that this is who this woman has become. A woman who could have just remained a beloved childhood author if she had only just, finished a book and shut her mouth and fucked off somewhere to the countryside. This is who she could have been, but no, this is who she decides to be. And she'll never come back from that. And she'll have to live with the consequences. And we'll never shut up pointing this shit out. And we'll never stop shitting on her bullshit. As long as she keeps going with it, people like me will talk about it. Okay, before I say goodbye, I mentioned earlier that I want to show you 2 books, and I've actually shown these 2 books on the channel before, but if you're interested in learning more about the asexual experience, if you want to know more about, how ace people are actually discriminated against, what kind of oppression we experience, I would really love to recommend these 2 books to you. This one, A is What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex, by Judgment, is like a great overall non-fiction book about like just the general ace experiences, because this book takes the account of various people across the asexual spectrum who are white, people of color, who are from Europe, from America, from Africa, from Asia, from all around the world, able-bodied, not able-bodied, all kinds of people, and they talk about their experience of what it means to be ace, what it means to them, what kinds of things they've gone through, both positive and negative. And the book talks about frames those narratives within our current socio-political society that is very, very prevalent on running things around sex. And it also talks about, representation, all that. So this is like a really great general overview if you just want to get into ace discourse in general. And then this book, which was one of my favorites last year, I think, was Refusing Compulsory Sexuality, A Black Asexual Lens on Our Sex-Obsessed Culture by Sharonda J. Brown. This was especially interesting for me as a white guy, because I was just unaware of those experiences that especially like people of color, like black ace people go through, like those harmful racist and acephobic stereotypes that I mentioned earlier. So this is a really, really interesting read if you want to know more, especially about asexual life as a black person and or as a femme aligning person. So this was really cool because it showed me a viewpoint or an experience that I just do not have and had honestly up until that point not thought about too much before. So this one really gave me some new perspectives that I hadn't thought about before, and I can honestly recommend this not only to people who are generally interested in ace discourse, but especially people who are already, who are ace and are already familiar with ace discourse, but maybe I haven't thought about every aspect of it, and I can really recommend this book to you. Okay, that's it from me. This was unscripted, very angry. Thank you so much for sticking around if you watched it all the way through. Don't worry, next video will be a nice one again. We'll talk about something nice. I don't know, books, movies, something. We'll talk about something nice in the next one. But for now, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done already, and I'll see all of you very soon. Goodbye.